So the airline lost my guitars. Twice. Hey, what's up guys? This is Bryce Van Hoosen. If this is your first time here, hey, what's up? Thanks for clicking on this video and giving me a watch. If you like what you see, please give it a like, give me a subscribe. It really helps out in the algorithm, as you guys know, and frankly are probably sick of hearing at this point, since that's pretty much what everybody says. But anyway, so like I said, on my most recent fly gig that I just played earlier this month, which is October of 2024, depending on whenever you see this video, the airline lost my guitars, not once, but 2 times actually. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about traveling with guitars, flying, etc., and a couple tips and tricks that I use so that I know where my gear is at all times, and you know, what you might also consider doing if you're in a similar situation. So like I said, earlier this month, I took off to Germany to play Keep It True Rising 4, which is a little festival over in Würzburg, and I was playing with Leather Leone, who is most known for being from Chastain and having recorded a bunch of those really classic 80s Chastain albums. If you're not familiar with Chastain, you should definitely check it out. They were on Shrapnel Records back in the day, along with, you know, Racer X and Cacophony, so definitely in line with that Marty Friedman, Jason Becker, Paul Gilbert kind of thing. So I was honored to be invited to share the stage with Leather and to play a bunch of those great Chastain songs. I've definitely been a fan for a long time. So on the way over, I had a connecting flight from Portland to San Francisco, and then from San Francisco to Frankfurt, Germany, which is about an hour and a half or so away from Würzburg. When I had landed in Frankfurt, I immediately knew that my guitars had been left in San Francisco. How did I know this, do you ask? Well, tip number 1 in traveling with gear of any sort is use AirTags. So AirTags, these are the ones for an Apple device specifically. I'm pretty sure Android has their own. I don't know when they came to market, but I first learned about them in 2022, and since then I've been putting them in literally everything I own or take out with me. I have an AirTag, obviously, in my guitars. I have an AirTag in my van. I have an AirTag on my keys. I have an AirTag in all of the amps and everything that I take out on the road with me. I even have an AirTag on my cat. So AirTags, I love these things. All right, so the way that I put AirTags in here is like this. I have this guitar. This is a guitar that I brought with me. This is my 2024 Jackson Concept FRH. This is a really cool Alexi COB inspired guitar, but basically what I do is in the control cavity, I put these somewhere literally in the guitar so that they're not going to come off. If somebody grabs the guitar, say, you know, just a quick snatch and grab operation, they're probably not going to have enough time before I notice to pull this out, or even to know what is going on, that there's an AirTag, that I'm literally tracking their every move, so long as an iPhone is around, which is a bit of a caveat. But here we go, in the control cavity, right here, which I put them in these little Pelican cases. See if you can see that. I put it in this little Pelican case here, and it just sort of sticks there. You know, it's kind of a pain to get out. So there we go. And there it is. Good old Apple AirTag. Boom. This video is not sponsored by Apple in any way. I love these things, man. Put them in everything, like I said. So immediately I checked when I landed in Frankfurt, looked at my phone, the little app that Apple gives you, and saw that my guitars pinged, you know, a few minutes ago, still in San Francisco, waiting pretty much at the gate. So somebody just neglected to put them on the plane. Honestly, this is the first time this has happened to me. I know that probably every guitar player has to go through this, or every traveling musician, or hell, even every traveler has to go through this at least one time in their lives, where the airline completely screws up and doesn't put the thing that you checked onto the plane. So I was flying with Condor, and immediately after I landed and I saw that, I went up to Leather, who was on the same flight as my wife and I. We both went out there together because we did a little bit of traveling afterward. I said, hey, my guitar's still left in San Francisco. They didn't make it. So I went up to the Condor baggage claim desk, or whatever desk they have down there in the deep, dark basement of the Frankfurt International Airport, and filed a report. And then we had to catch a shuttle off to our hotel, which was in Würzburg, at about an hour and a half away. So I kept sort of tracking and calling and seeing what was going on with my guitars. It looked like they had just sort of been sitting in a terminal in the San Francisco airport for, I don't know, about a day, until at some point I saw that my AirTag was no longer connecting. And about, 8 hours went by before it had been pinged. And up until that point, it was getting pinged probably about every 10 minutes or so. So that told me, hey, my guitars are probably on a plane. So I'm able to, kind of track where everything is at with this AirTag. I put it in lost mode so that I would get kind of an additional notification from the app itself whenever it was pinged next. So that was the next day, Friday. The gig was on Saturday. We had got there on Thursday. We had a rehearsal on Friday. I had to get a loaner guitar to do that, which had like 11s on it, which is crazy. I usually play 8s in E flat. So I saw during rehearsal on Friday, my guitars made it to Frankfurt Airport. Literally, they were just put on the same flight the next day. So from there, things didn't get any less complicated. I called Condor. I called the baggage department. They basically said, hey, you're too far away from us. You're about an hour and a half outside of Frankfurt, so we're not going to deliver these. So yeah, which I'm still kind of pissed off about, because come on, man, like, you guys screwed up. Shouldn't you be delivering my guitars to me instead of making me have to deal with it? So they were basically just like, all right, well, they're here. You can come get them if you want. I checked the train. It's about $50 or so both ways. So me and my wife, of course, we're going to go. So that's like $200 or something that it would take to take a train from Würzburg to Frankfurt. So at the bright and early hour of 5 o'clock the next day, the day of the gig, one of the shuttle guys for the fest was taking the band Demon, in case any of you are familiar with them, great new wave of trad heavy metal band, taking them back to the airport and asked if I wanted to ride along with him. So of course I jumped at the opportunity, got in the van, went back to Frankfurt. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I got my guitars, so made it, did the gig. That was great. So rule number 1, AirTags. Put an AirTag in everything. That way, at least, you will know where stuff is, and you won't have to rely on somebody else who's maybe not doing their job, maybe not paying as much attention to detail as you would hope. So number 2, I knew that my guitars were safe because I have them in this Anki case, which I don't know if you can see, but it's back there. I have one of these Anki case, so 2 guitars in the Anki case itself, which I'm not sponsored by Anki or anything like that, but man, this case has really come in handy. This is probably like my 5th time flying with it. Never had any issues, never had a guitar come out of it different than when it went in, to be perfectly honest. So the Anki stuff, it works, and it works great for me. Baggage handlers, I'm sure they are throwing these things around. It's a big old case. It can be a little bit cumbersome to take around, but man, you know your stuff is safe in there. So Anki, get one of those. Here's a close-up of my Anki case. This is one of the big ones because I like to use V guitars. So this fits a V, 2 Vs, or Explorer-shaped guitars in it. One suggestion I would make, as ugly as it might be, is to put some kind of defining sort of marking on the front, back, and sides of your Anki. As you can see, I have that there on mine. And the reason is because these cases are extremely popular, so if you go into a venue playing a show, there's a good likelihood that there might be, 4 or 5 different Ankis out there for every guitar player who is on the bill. And makes it a little bit easier to keep yours, well, make sure you grab yours instead of somebody else's, and somebody else isn't going to grab yours. This is the top. This is the version 2 top that basically just opens like that, twists up, and you can go ahead and pull this out. Fit 2 guitars in here. This case is big, not enough room for all of my lights and all of that kind of stuff. So there we go, 2 guitars fit in there, and yeah, this little pouch thing It's pretty cool. Keep all my little tools and everything that I need. Oh, it's hard to do this one-handed. You know, screwdrivers, Allen wrenches, wire cutters, extra strings, all that kind of stuff goes in there. It goes in the case. You always got it. And one other thing that I would recommend is at least using one lock and locking it up here. Let's see if I can do this. Sometimes there are some extra security measures taken at airports if you have a lock on your luggage, like they will basically hold it and make you present an ID before you're able to pick it up. That's happened to me at least once, so that is pretty cool. And that's all because, you know, I had a little, what is it, $5 lock from Amazon on there. But not stopping there, because sometimes TSA agents don't do a very good job of closing and locking and all of that sort of thing. I have a second lock with a really long little connecting thing, and basically this goes through these two extra holes that are on either side of the closing mechanism of the Anki, and I essentially just thread this in here. So if somebody is, maybe they haven't had their coffee for the day and they don't know how to close the main latch, they can at least figure this one out because it's super, super easy. So boom, there we go. 2 locks, and I'm pretty much ready to fly. Just, you know, put some guitars in there and put the case thing, of course. So another great case option that I've seen used to good effect, albeit I don't personally go with this method, but the bass player, Walter from Silver Talon, has done this numerous times and it's always worked out for him in the end. But it's basically to take one of these kind of foam core cases, so sort of the, right, it's hard, it's rigid, you know, it's gonna protect your instrument. You're not gonna wanna throw it off a building or anything like that, which is probably true for any case, but especially so of this one. But because of the somewhat soft nature of it, which I have seen people sort of recently complain about this stuff on the internet, but there is kind of a good reason for having these that can play in your advantage, and that is because it is soft foam on the outside, right? You could basically carry this on, and your sort of excuse could be, hey, I don't have a hard case, this is my instrument, I'm going to basically work, so I need to make sure that this gets there. And usually that will be persuasive enough to let any sort of baggage handler or flight attendant kind of let you carry it on. This also kind of gives you the opportunity to either just sort of throw it in an overhead bin if it's, you know, this one may be a little bit too big because it's made to fit a flying V shape, right? A Randy Road shape. Or you could sort of talk to a stewardess and see if they could put it in a closet or something for you. Worst case scenario, and you have to gate check it, at least that means that, you know, they're going to throw it on top of all of the luggage. It's probably going to be last on, first off, and this is at least rigid enough that it's going to provide a decent amount of protection to your instrument, so long as somebody isn't throwing it or it's not being crushed by somebody's 80-pound suitcase or what have you. So coming back into the US, things got crazy again. So our connecting flight was from Frankfurt to Seattle, which is not too far from where I am. And then from Seattle, we caught a connecting flight to Portland. Well, our plane, the one from Frankfurt, the Condor flight, was landed about 30 minutes late, and we had about maybe an hour to do that transfer. So that cut it down from an hour to maybe like 30, 45 minutes, going all the way up until literally last call for boarding. And unbeknownst to me, coming back from Europe in Seattle, basically what you have to do is you have to collect your bags, go through customs, US customs, recheck your bags, go back through TSA security, and then catch your connecting flight, which in the Seattle airport was a nightmare. So the plane was late. It took them a while to get the bags off. We're standing there doing everything as fast as we possibly can, my wife and I grab my guitars, she grabs her bag, we run, we wait, go through US customs. We got like 20 minutes. In Seattle, we have to catch a couple different trams, and then as we're basically heading back down this corridor that we go through TSA again, they grab my guitars and say that they're basically going to put them on the plane. We go through TSA, basically run all the way to catch our connecting flight to Portland, make it barely just in time, And my guitars, again, not there. They're not on the plane. They're not in Portland when we land. So I had to file yet another complaint. The good thing in the US, at least, is I got them delivered straight to my house, which was awesome. So point one for the US versus the German transit system. But Germany is fantastic and absolutely delightful. And you should go if you've never been. It's great, even if their airports are not the best. So what really pissed me off about this last one, not to make this a complaining session or anything, but they did charge me the oversized $150 fee to basically check my Anki. So keep that in mind. That's something that you might run into with this thing. Typically, this is kind of maybe one of the 2 times that has happened flying with this thing, and like I said, I've flown with it multiple times. It all kind of depends on whoever is checking in your bags and how good of a day, I guess, they're having, whether or not they're going to charge you the oversized baggage fee. So make sure you keep it, under 50 pounds, and you still might be hit with that, but maybe if they lose your bags, you can complain like I am in the process of doing. Right, so that is basically it. That is my crash course in flying with an instrument. Make sure you're putting an AirTag in everything and you have a good case. Either one that you're going to check, or like the example with my the bass player in Silver Talon, something that at least you're able to carry on and they might sort of be able to fit in a closet or something like that. Make sure you're using proper locks on your case. This comes with some extra security precautions I've noticed from TSA. And make sure that you are immediately talking to people and kind of know what's going on as soon as something happens, and you're able to file all of those reports and keep track of where your valuable instrument is at, so that you can kind of hold all of the people that are in charge of maintaining your baggage, you can sort of hold their feet to the fire. Because nobody is going to care as much about your instrument as you are. Well, that's all I got for today. Be safe traveling out there. Keep your guitars, at least, know where they are at all times, whether that's with you or via a tracking app using something like an Apple AirTag, whatever. Obviously, my guitars made it back, not a scratch, nothing. The Anki held true, so I'm not endorsed by those guys, but, thank you for making an awesome product. I totally vouch for it. And let me know in the comments if you have any horror stories. I'm sure things could have gone much worse for me, because in the end I did get my guitars back and they weren't damaged or anything like that. And I know that some folks have not been so lucky. So pretty bad situation, but it always could be worse. Okay, I am Bryce Van Hoosen. I will see you in the next one.